Hey guys, Drutter here, May 10th, 2020, day 56 of my lockdown diary here in South Central British Columbia. I live in a small town and I rent a small house in that small town. And that small house has a small garage and it has been converted years ago into an old shop, I guess, of some kind, or a man cave sort of thing to hang out in. I am currently just using it for storage and I don't have much lighting in here. So I won't really show you around. It's kind of messy anyway. Furniture that doesn't go in the house and some copper scrap, and there's a mock fireplace there. You can turn it on just to have the ambiance of a fire anyway. That's my brother's old big screen TV, dartboard and darts, gigantic mushroom candle that I've had for a long time. This is every cannabis plant I've grown in the past 5 years. I haven't been very prolific in the past 5 years, but there's a few crops in there and a few memories associated with those stems there. I don't know, a bunch of old stuff that's not very interesting. But I did want to come out here and record a little footage tonight. And I wanted to talk about, since it's Mother's Day, I thought I would talk about family, and specifically family or government. Who do we have loyalty to? Who is the one that we should obey? Who comes first? Family or government? And I think a lot of people would put other things before family or government, and that's not what this is about. I'm just talking about which is more higher priority, family or basically the system, the government and the system that runs our lives nowadays. And it's not how things used to be, and it's not how it was set up, but that is sort of how it's going. So nowadays, is it family or government that comes first? And you may, like I said, put other things first, like God or other religious people or deities, or maybe even yourself or life or other things like that we could put first. I'm not talking about that though. What comes first between family and government? Because it seems to me that family is what most people would say if you ask them that. Is it, are you loyal to, say, your brothers, your parents, your mom, your dad, your children? Or are you loyal to the liberal government of Canada, or whoever is currently the government of Canada, or the government of the place that you live? Is it the party in power, the government, or that entire system itself, maybe? That whole voting system and that partisan back and forth between 2 or 3 maybe parties. Is that what you're loyal to when you're loyal to government and the system? But a lot of people, like I said, would put family first, or they say they put family first. And I don't know how many people you would have to ask before you would get someone that says, oh no, I trust the system before my family. Always government. Government comes first. What the government wants is most important. I don't talk to my kids anymore, really. I just listen to what the government wants me to do. I don't think a lot of people would say that. But I think that actually is what's happening. People's behavior has changed, and I don't think that they noticed, really. I don't think people have caught up and caught on to the fact that their behavior has changed, their thinking has changed, especially in the past few months with this crisis that we're in. And this lockdown has done some funny things to people's brains, I think, because a lot of people, and I'm not talking about any specific family members of mine, okay, so if anyone's watching this and they think that they're offended because I'm talking about them, I'm not, so I don't have you in mind if that's what you're thinking and you're watching this. But in general, this is a problem right now, that family is not coming first for a lot of people. And they would say that if you ask them, but really, it's the system and government that comes first for people right now. And people are listening to the government telling them to be afraid of this, and to be more afraid than necessary, I think. I think that the threat level is moderate. And I've said that for a long time. The threat level of the virus is moderate. The threat level of the government and of the economic collapse is massive. That's what really needs to be dealt with and talked about. That is the major topic, major issue here. This virus is, whether or not it was created or is natural, right? Either way, it doesn't matter. It's happening, and its threat level is moderate. And it's Mother's Day today. Mother's Day, traditionally a day that people spend with family, one of those family days. And now the government today is telling people to not be together, to see your mom on the internet today. And that, I think, is something that a lot of families are having trouble with right now. A lot of families are not sure if they should listen to the government and the media, which is heavily shaming and heavily pushing the idea of separation this Mother's Day. Don't visit your mom. They lay out some ways that you may be able to see your mom, like if you haven't traveled, if you haven't had any symptoms, if you only hug briefly, if you don't exhale in each other's directions, or something, come on. This is crazy. This is crazy that the system, the government now is telling us that we can't breathe on each other. We can't, be close to our family members. They're basically saying you can't have that physical feeling, that connection, that closeness. Don't hug very long. It's scary almost that they're basically mandating how affectionate we can be with our family members. And the WHO has said that countries should send their police in to separate family members by force if necessary. And I certainly don't agree with that, of course, obviously, and it's amazing that anyone does. But I see comments online. I go to CBC, Canada's CNN basically. I go there and sometimes I look at the comments on some of those articles. And the articles are scary enough, but the comments are very scary too. And the top comments often are things like somebody saying, I envy China the way that they cracked down on their citizens. And when I saw that happening, I thought Canada or the US, wherever they are, isn't going to have the guts to do that when the time comes. And now the time has come, and no, we don't have the guts. We aren't doing it. We aren't cracking down with drones. We aren't putting everybody into a control grid. We aren't locking people physically in their apartment buildings and patrolling the streets violently and killing people in order to maintain social distancing. And people are basically begging for it here in Canada. That scares me because, as they say, hell is other people. A famous expression a wise man once said, but it has a lot of implications. And I think in a socialist society, which this is becoming, other people, the quality of your society, the quality of your life depends on the people around you, the quality of their lives, the quality of those people. And the quality of people in Canada right now has dropped recently, I must say. This socialist push that we are in has really changed Canada. And the people that we are importing has really changed Canada. And Canada's not the place that it once was. We're looking here at a stop sign, a French-Canadian stop sign. Don't ask me to pronounce it. That's not one of the easier words in French to pronounce. Canada is not the Canada it was. And Canada is not the place that I even want to be in anymore. And the other people in Canada are creating a hell for the rest of us. For people, sane, regular, normal, peace-loving, liberty-loving Canadians like myself are finding ourselves in the minority now. There's just not very many of us. And the system itself is becoming very socialist and very, we're all in it together, and if you don't participate, then we all suffer, and sort of insinuating that you are going to be to blame if things go wrong if you don't cooperate with the way that everyone else wants you to cooperate. That's the push now. And so that's why I say hell is other people. And yeah, what are we making this world into? We're making it into hell, basically, with no peace, with no privacy, with no liberty. And that Canada was supposedly founded on that. Canada's supposedly the true North, strong and free. We're not true, we're not strong, and we're not free. I guess we're still in the North, though. Canada, the North, basically. So family or government. And I think for a lot of people, it's coming down to government. And people's ideas, people's minds, people are becoming very socialist. They're becoming very collectivist, very, very statist, very fascist. They don't see it as those things, but it is those things. Because tyranny comes about because liberty is pushed down and liberty is in retreat. If we don't have liberty, tyranny festers, and that's something that I've said for a long time, and I believe very, very strongly. And we don't have liberty anymore, not in our lives, not in our day-to-day lives, not in our families, not in our country, not in our government, not in our society. We don't bother talking about it anymore. What about the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness in the United States? We have very similar wording in Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms as well. We have liberty in Canada, on the books anyway. We don't observe it, though. We don't observe liberty, and we're changing our country right now because of this crisis, using this crisis as an excuse to change the country, but that's not the actual reason that the country is changing right now. That is just the reason given. But this country's being changed into something that it's not, and it has never been, and it basically stood against. And families are being degraded and told to separate, told to stay apart, told not even to talk to each other. I've even seen articles in the mainstream media saying what to do if your conservative white uncle is telling you about 9/11 or about the virus not being as dangerous as the media is telling you and stuff like that. What to do, how to counteract those conservative white uncles in your family as you interact with your family members. They really are saying it that way. And to me, that's sexist and racist, but it won't be considered that because it's against men and white people. So it's not considered that way. But, what if he said that about a different race or what if he said about women or, watch out for that black auntie that wants to talk to you about. What? No, it would never be allowed. But you could say, watch out for that conservative white uncle. And it's that conservative boogeyman and I'm not even conservative, but that's what I've been lumped into, I suppose, because I believe in liberty. It's seen as along that spectrum, I guess. But we are being told to not listen to our family members, to not trust our family members. We're being told this by a government and a media that is proven and has shown themselves to not be trustworthy. But they're telling families now to separate, telling families not to be together physically, and to communicate only online, which conveniently happens to not be very private if you're not aware of how things go nowadays. It's all recorded, all tracked, it's all within the system, basically. They want you to interact with your family on the computer and over the phone, the smartphone. And everyone says it comes down to family for them. Family's first, family first. I am loyal to my family. My sons are the most important to me. My daughter, my family, my mom, my dad mean so much to me. My brothers will always be together. Loyalty forever. All that stuff, right? But does anyone act that way anymore? Does anyone act that way in Canada, in the United States, anywhere? Is that really how it goes? I think there are some strong families out there still, and congratulations to you. Hold on to that. Because families are being decimated right now by the system. And there's a reason for that. Because families are strong. Families are strength. Families are independence from the system. Which comes first for you? And do you live that way? Stay well, and talk to you soon.